All right, when you first open up Canvas, you get there, of course, from the My USF menu, which will open into its own screen, and then you need to decide which course it is you're going to work with. Now, your courses and groups may display the course you're looking for, or you might have to click to view all courses. So once you find the course that you're looking for, and I'll go into this one here, you just select it and you are taken into the course. Immediately you will notice some differences from Blackboard. For instance, there's no way to right-click on these things and change these descriptions. So you cannot create or alter, rename these navigation buttons on the side. The logic of Canvas is a little bit different, and it mostly has to do with where your files live. You will see a button for files, and let's go into that. And you'll see the ability to create folders and files as you see fit. So you could click to add a folder, let's say, and call it PowerPoints. You could add another folder and call it Syllabus. And then within the folder, let's go into the Syllabus folder, let's say, and then click Add Files. So from adding files, let's just go to my desktop where I have a chemistry folder here and take my Syllabus PDF and upload it to this spot. So as you see in here, it is uploading, and when it's done uploading, it will appear as a file within that folder. I can go to the PowerPoints folder and add files, again from my same spot. This time I will kind of hold the Control key down as I click multiple PowerPoints, and it will upload all three of them, as you see, all at once, and that saves me a little bit of work. So by the time all of them are done, I've got PowerPoints and I've got Syllabus uploaded into these folders here. So if all I really want to do is use the system to hold these things, I'm mostly done. I would suggest we go to the Settings button and change around the navigation. So what you do is drag around the items on the left side navigation. I'm just going to drag it into the bottom part and then let go. Now I recommend you don't use the Syllabus tool itself because it's a little bit less obvious what to do about uploading files and so forth. Just using the Files button is simplest. Leave Home and Files there, scroll to the bottom and click Save. And now you have a class with just Home and Files turned on. So if I were to go look at the student view, since I'm in Settings, I can click on the student view and it will take me to a version of what the class looks like if I'm a student. All of the navigation disappears. There's just the Files button. And then the students can then access the PowerPoints, or they can access the syllabus just by navigating around the sides here. So it's like a flash drive in the internet. It's just for your class. Let's leave the student view down here at the bottom. And that really is all you would have to do if you're just using the system for holding materials for the students. Now obviously there are different buttons on the side for first day attendance, for e-grades, and for USF photo roster, and those are there for you to turn back on whenever you want. You can make those visible or not, that's really up to you, but the Files button is really the simplest way to think about using the system. There are other ways to do it. You could, for instance, use the Modules button. And I'm going to need to, actually let's go ahead and do that now. Let's go back into Settings and make Modules visible again for the student navigation. And then let's click Save. And so now we have Files and Modules. And when I go on Modules, grayed out at the moment because there's nothing there, simply create a module. I can call this module Chapter 1, let's say. And let's go ahead and create a second module while we're here and call it Chapter 2. Now the modules can become the navigation method of the class. So those files I previously uploaded, what I can do is deploy them in the modules. So that's the logic of Canvas that's different from Blackboard, is you upload stuff to files first and then you deploy it in the modules. So you go to this button on the side here for Add Content, and I'll just switch this to say File as the type of content I want to add. Let's go with my PowerPoint, Add Item. I can also add different kinds of content. I guess I didn't upload anything else. There's the syllabus. I could have uploaded that. But let's add a second PowerPoint. I can rename these things at will here. So instead of calling it Atomic Structure PPS, let's just call it Atomic Structure. And then the covalent bonding, let's just call that one the reading on covalent bonds. So now I've updated the way it looks. I can do the same thing with Chapter 2, add more content down here. Now as you can see, there are also other kinds of content you could add. Instead of files, maybe it's a quiz. Maybe it's a discussion board. Maybe it's just a link to an outside URL. or maybe it's a page that you've created. So one of the other things we could do is create pages, and I'll show you that next. But I want to dwell here for just a second on the logic of course modules. What you can do with course modules is provide another kind of organization tool. You could actually turn the Files button off at this point. So if I go to Files and drag that down so it's hidden from students and click Save, and then when that's done, go back into Student View. Now all they see are Home and Modules. So the modules now show them the files that I've pre-selected that I want them to look at. They don't have a button for files. So if I have files that I want to have uploaded but not visible to them, using modules makes sense. Or if I want to have modules only turn on after a certain time period, that makes sense. If you're using the Files button, it's all open all the time. You can't really lock things out unless you want to lock out one file at a time. Using modules makes more sense for kind of the trickle-out method. And it is, I think, the preferred way to make use of multiple types of things in a module, like assessments, assignments, quizzes, discussion board, and pages. So stuff you upload can go in here, as well as those other things that are within the system, like quizzes and discussions, can also go in here. So if I create a discussion and call it the Chapter 1 discussion, let's say, Chapter 1 discussion, and I can maybe even make it worth points if I wanted to, 5 points, and let's scroll to the bottom and click Save. Now when I go back to my modules, I can click on Modules and click to add content to this module. This time, instead of an assignment and not a file, I'm going to go to a discussion. There's my Chapter 1 discussion. And there it is. Now it's part of this module. Now you'll note I don't have to turn on the discussions button for the students. All they really need to see is the modules button, because they can get led around. So if you're in this reading, for instance, if you're a student in this reading, it'll load up the reading or the PowerPoint or whatever it is, and then they can click their way through it this way. But then when they're ready to go to the next section in the discussion in the module, they just click the next button down in the corner here, and it goes to the very next thing that we had set up, which in this case was a discussion board. So it's very simple for the students to maneuver using the modules button, and you won't really need these other buttons turned on the side. You need them as teacher to build the stuff. The students only really need to see the modules. In fact, the home button, which normally shows like new activity, you can change this to say, I want the home page to just be the modules, update layout. And now whenever you click on home, it will go to modules, which means that I can actually hide even the modules button. Let's bring that down, and now the home button is really all there's going to be for the students. Click Save, and then check out the student view. And now in the student view, there are no side navigation buttons at all. It's very clean, not confusing for the students at all. They can see right here on the home button what it is they're supposed to do. You can label these things whatever you want. Chapter 1, you can use dates right here as part of what you want to say. This would be a very clean way to organize the material that they see online, and that way that's not confusing. There's no buttons visible for them on the side, and it's all fully deployed. The trick, however, is to remember that it starts on the faculty side with you uploading things into the files area, and I would suggest putting them into subfolders. You don't really have to do it that way, but this makes it easy and obvious for you later on in case you need to update things that you're doing. So maybe I didn't even want to say PowerPoints. Maybe I wanted to say Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, and I could drag things around from, say, this PowerPoint. I can drag it over into Chapter 2. Actually, I think it has to happen over on this side. Here we are. So I can drag this to somewhere else over to the Chapter 1. So now it's been moved out of this folder and into this folder here. But this would just give you a better way to organize your material so the students can always find it, and so that you can always find it for updating it in the future. Your students always find it because they just click on the home button and the modules are right there for them to see.